The land of fire had such wonderful weather. There were a handful of fluffy clouds scattered about in the blue sky. The soothing, warm light of the sun caressed the top of Naruto's head. The birds were chirping and, in that moment, he was able to understand Shikamaru's love for cloud watching. It was all perfectly to the blonde genin's liking, he just couldn't properly enjoy it. Why, you ask? Well, the answer was quite simple. It was due to a certain old pervert with long, white hair. Normally, the Sannin wasn't much of a problem, but his incessant giggling was irritating. The high-pitched noises that erupted from the Sannin were unsettling, to say the least. How is it possible for a grown man to hit such a high note? The young teen did not know. The Uzumaki expressed his annoyance as he sat up into a cross-legged position. Being around Jiraiya was, well, not all that bad. Even when they didn't do anything, Naruto was still glad to be there. He couldn't explain it, it just made him happy to spend time with the perverted hermit. However, when the two of them embarked on their adventure, he was promised training that would prepare him to get Sasuke back, and defend himself from the Akatsuki. The sage was supposed to be teaching him super cool techniques, not creeping on girls at a hot spring all day. Jiraiya's ears twitched in annoyance at the boy's attempt to gain his attention. Not only was it loud, but it threw off his delicate concentration. It's not every day you get to witness beautiful women like this, and he was certainly not going to waste this opportunity. After all, his loyal fans would never forgive him for slacking off on the job. Would you quiet down a little, brat? Jiraiya whispered harshly, glancing back at his blonde pupil. Or are you trying to get the two of us busted? Naruto's ears perked up at his master's choice of words. He frowned and his eyes narrowed dangerously. Us? What do you mean us? He whispered back just as harshly. As dumb as he was, even he knew it would be bad if they alerted the women located just below their high perch. If he had to guess, they were only about 25 feet away from the women. You're here too, aren't you? Jiraiya shot back at his young student. Now if you don't stay quiet, you won't just ruin my research session, but you may also get us caught. Do you want us to get chased off again? Hoping that the conversation was now over, he turned back to his telescope to continue his research. Now, Naruto may not be the most intelligent shinobi in the land of fire, but even he knew what the white-haired Sannin meant when he said research. I mean, Jiraiya has unabashedly referred to himself as a super pervert. It didn't take someone from the Nara clan to figure out what was really going on here. The blonde snorted derisively. If we were caught, who do you think those women would want to beat up the most? The cute, innocent boy, or the old perv holding a telescope that dragged him here? Unbeknownst to them, the longer the conversation wore on, the louder the two of them got. They were so caught up within their own little bubble that they didn't even notice the girls in the hot spring, as they around for the cause of the disturbance. The sage opened his mouth to retort, but quickly closed it once he realized that his student was right. If those girls found them in this problematic setting, he would assuredly get 100% of the beating. However, he was going to keep that little bit of information to himself. The brat didn't need to know just how right he was. Finally thinking of a retort, a smug smirk graced the sage's lips. I believe after explaining my reasoning for being in this compromising position, the ladies over there would jump at the chance to help me get my inspiration. After all, it's not every day that you get to assist an artist in creating their masterpiece. His face got red as drool began to drip from the corner of his mouth, as if a new idea for a scene suddenly popped into his head. Somehow, he believed his own grandiose delusions to be true. These were the moments that truly dumbfounded Naruto. How could a Sannin, one of the revered and universally admired legendary three, act this way? A man whose immense power struck fear into the hearts of countless shinobi was nothing but a big, foolish pervert. And he's my master. I'm doomed, aren't I? Naruto mentally sighed at the realization. Oh, please. Naruto scoffed at the sage's pretentious boasts. We both know that you're just a big pervert who uses research as an excuse to spy on pretty girls. He shouted as he pointed a finger at his master. The boy's patience was wearing thin. It had been a week since they had left the village. That week had gone by, and they still hadn't done any actual training. I left the village to get stronger, to go after Sasuke, not to tag along and watch him perv around all day. He thought to himself bitterly. Jiraiya's smirk only continued to grow. Naruto was positive more boasts were on their way. I'll have you know that without my constant inspiration I would never be able to continue my world-famous, make-out, series. He shouted back defensively. Without my books, how would my loyal fans be able to live on? A giant tick mark appeared on Naruto's head. Are you serious? They were shouting now. I bet a 5-year-old would be able to write better books than you. At least their books would have an actual storyline. Naruto smirked. Jiraiya didn't seem to notice what their loud volume was doing, but he certainly did. Things were about to get very interesting. He had no idea how right he was. Now it was the usually composed Jiraiya's turn to get upset. Well, I'm very sorry your tiny brain is incapable of understanding the complexities of my literary masterpieces. The amount of pride radiating from his master made the blonde question whether he should just go home and train by himself. He was starting to think the white-haired Jonin was a lost cause. A compelling tale of lust, passion, and love all wrapped up in one complete package. Jiraiya continued, his smirk ever so present on his face. It's simply perfect. Based on the look of his face, Naruto was no longer paying attention to his bombastic instructor. Jiraiya's passionate speech had been extremely loud, and he had suddenly become very cognizant of where the two of them were. If Naruto knew anything, it was that he needed to get out of there immediately. He peered over the shoulder of the older man, and his fears were unfortunately confirmed. What he saw caused his complexion to go white, and his eyes to light up in fear. A sputtered, unintelligible response came from his lips as he backed away slowly and turned to leave. The sudden change in attitude and body language did not go unnoticed by Jiraiya. Naruto, what's the matter? Are you okay? He asked with actual concern in his voice. Naruto quickly shook his head in an attempt to alleviate the worry. I'm fine, pervy sage. The nervous tone in his student's voice only furthered the older man's suspicion that something was not right. Are you Sue? Yeah, I'm fine, the genin exclaimed before his mentor could finish his follow-up question. I'm not feeling too well, I'll see you back at the hotel. With that, the blonde sped off, leaving a Jiraiya confused behind in his wake. He heard the urgency in his protégé's voice, but he was unaware of the reason behind it. At least, for now, he was unaware. What was all of that about? He asked himself aloud. Ahem. The voice was light and firm, but a seasoned shinobi could feel the bloodlust behind it. Jiraiya turned around slowly, and what he saw before him made him visibly pale. A group of very angry, half-naked women stood over him, and a few of them cracked their knuckles violently with unnerving looks on their faces. At that moment, the Sannin remembered where he was and what he had been doing prior to his dispute with his student. And now listen, ladies, I know this looks bad, but I can explain. His last-ditch efforts to sputter out a response fell on deaf ears. Despite being in a similar situation more times than he could even count, it was still just as terrifying as ever. These women were clearly kunoichi, he could feel the large amounts of chakra radiating off them. And it was all directed at him. If it weren't for the bloodlust, this would be kinda hot. Even in this precarious situation, he couldn't keep his mind out of the gutter. He closed his eyes and braced himself for the inevitable pain. The screams of the great toad sage echoed through the town. Naruto, who only about 100 feet away from the beatdown, chuckled softly to himself. It had felt like an eternity since he last allowed himself to laugh like that. And knowing that Jiraiya would be okay allowed him to not feel bad for finding humor in his master's misfortune. For a moment, the weight on the genin's shoulders felt manageable. He needed that. Thanks, pervy sage, he thought to himself fondly as he slowly headed back to the hotel. I can't believe you got away. Naruto ran a hand through his spiky hair and sighed softly. I was kinda hoping they would get a few more shots in on you. The boy added with a sheepish grin. He loved teasing his sensei almost as much as he liked eating ramen. Almost. Jiraiya rolled his eyes at the verbal jab by his protégé. I'm so sorry to disappoint you. He spat sarcastically, nursing a rather large bump on the back of his head. He reflexively winced away from the pain as he rested a bag of ice on it. Maybe next time I'll grope a couple of them, then they'll really give me a beatdown. Despite that being a joke, the sage blushed slightly at the thought. I doubt it, the genin said dismissively. You seem impervious to serious injury no matter how many times those women kicked the crap out of you. Did pervs have some sort of defensive jutsu that they keep amongst themselves for times of danger? Naruto would have to look into that. When you have been beaten by Tsunade herself, no other beating can even come close. The blonde was fascinated by how his master could feel pride in those words. Tsunade is scarier than all of those women put together, and that's only when she runs out of sake. Jiraiya inwardly cringed at the last time Tsunade ran out of sake when he was around. Naruto remained silent as a thought came to him. Jiraiya's mentioning of the fifth Hokage reminded Naruto of why he was even here with the white-haired sage in the first place. He frowned slightly. While it was always fun to laugh at Jiraiya when he gets caught by women, that's not why they left the village with the intent to be gone for over 2 years. Pervy sage. Naruto's obnoxious voice broke through the peaceful silence that Jiraiya was entranced in. Well, went his attempts to soothe his growing headache. When are we finally going to start my training? It has already been a week since they left the village and the blonde genin was starting to get restless. He needed to get stronger as fast as possible. So many people were counting on him, and he wasn't about to let them down. Jiraiya quietly weighed his options. Ignore him for now, or make up some lie to trick the less intelligent blonde. Pervy sage. Naruto's impatience didn't give the sage that opportunity. Jiraiya clamped his hand over his ears in an attempt to drown out his obnoxious underling, but to no avail. Where's a mute button when you need one? He thought in exasperation. Once I get enough material to complete a few more chapters, we will start your training. I promise, was his plead. He thought for a moment, trying to calculate how much peeping that would take. I'd say another week or 2 should be enough. The Sannin added, in hopes that that would be enough to calm down his student. He didn't think it would, but his optimistic mindset got the better of him. Naruto groaned in annoyance. That was definitely not the answer he was hoping for. Come on, pervy sage. We both know that I can't afford to be wasting time like this. His young mind wandered to his best friend, Sasuke. He ground his teeth together at the thought of him being with that snake Orochimaru. I have promises to keep. I can't just wait around all day wasting time. Jiraiya gave the boy a questioning glance. Oh, just what exactly are you promising people? He asked, genuinely curious. Naruto's eyes hardened. I promised Sakura that I would bring back Sasuke. I have to get stronger so I can get him away from that creep Orochimaru. The conviction in his voice spoke volumes about the boy's commitments he makes to his friends. Naruto. The wise Jonin began. You need to forget about Sasuke. You have more important things to worry about. The Akatsuki will be coming after you and I can't always be by your side to protect you. He knew his student wouldn't like the idea of forgetting about his friend, but he needed to at least try. So, train me. If they are so strong, then you need to make me stronger. The blonde purposely avoided any mention of Sasuke, much to the annoyance of his white-haired master. I will bring him back. No matter what, the young genin thought defiantly. Jiraiya sighed. He expected that he wouldn't be able to get through to the boy. He was the exact same way when he was younger. Naruto, I understand that you're in a rush, but we've got plenty of time. 2 years is more than enough time to make you into a great shinobi.